Hello and good morning. We would like to start our presentation with the acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders peoples as the first Australians whose lands, winds, and waters we now all share, and pay respect to their unique values and their continuing and enduring cultures, which deepen and enrich the life of our nation and communities. Thank you all for being here today and choosing to sit in on Doing Good. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please do sit on them until the end of the presentation. We will have a little Q&A, emergency exits at the back and on the sides. Thank you for flying with us. So, welcome to Doing Good. Many of you have expressed to us today and yesterday, what is doing good? What does this mean? I'll tell you exactly what that means. Doing good is a very simple concept. All of us here today share passions. We share passions for volunteering. We share passions for arts and hobbies. We share passions for fighting for the things we believe in. You know, we fight for our rights. We fight for our passions. And some of us maybe do it in small ways, like taking care of the people we love and taking care of the planet. In the next 50 or so minutes, we aim to make you want to ask yourself, I'm doing good, but what can I do to be doing better? I would like to introduce our amazing panelists. We have 3 Australian Asians who share something amazing. What they share is that passion for doing good for the community, not only the Australian communities, but giving back to the communities of our neighbors. And they're just so inspirational. I loved hearing all their stories, and I know you guys will love it too. They're going to give you great advice on what it means to start a social enterprise and the steps that they've taken to become successful, different stages along the way. It's about laying down the foundation and going beyond that, taking them on this journey to how they got here today in front of all of you. Good morning, campers. So I'd like you all to introduce yourselves real quick, you know, the basics. Tell us what's your day job, what, and one fun thing actually we'd like to know about you. Hi, Thomas.
I'll just keep it short and simple. I'm Thomas. I'm a proud Filipino Australian and NCP Scholar for 2016. What I do with my day job is I'm a senior project manager at ACOM, but closer to my heart is Masy Consultants, which I'll share more about later. Fun fact, I'm a plant daddy and recent cat daddy. I've adopted 2 boys. One's a ginger called Ginger, and one's a gray cat called Mr. Gray. Those were the names the foster home gave them, so don't ask, but we just felt it was just right for them to keep those names. So look forward to being here today with everyone and my fellow panelists. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Angelica, introduce yourself.
Good morning, Sawadee ka, everyone. My name is Angelica Casado. By day, I'm a Commonwealth public servant working in ICT procurement and contract management, and I founded and directed the Australian Thai Youth Ambassadors program many, many years ago. And my fun fact is I love to flamenco dance, and I perform every now and then around town. So, hand it over to Anastasia.
Hi everyone, I'm Anastasia. I am a proud mixed-race Indonesian Serbian Australian, and I'm the founder of Makar Collective. Talk a little bit more about that later. In my day job, I work at Google as an account manager, and I was living in Singapore for about 5 years working with Facebook. Fun fact about me, I love durian. Does anyone here know what that is? Yeah, you're my people, love durian. Thank you.
Sadly, I am not your people. But thank you all for indulging me and sharing a little bit about yourself. You know, you're human. We're all human here. So I'd like to start off our presentation with Angelica and her journey, her social enterprise. Please, whenever you're ready. Thank you, Ari.
So good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining our session today. We are very excited, and as Ari very well summarized, we love doing good things, and we've tried our best to do what we can to help on this planet. So in 2012, I started thinking about creating a little program. And this led to the creation of the Australian Thai Youth Ambassadors program. And that was an annual program that took Australian university students for a period of 1 month to go and volunteer and teach English to the northeastern part, Thai students in the northeastern part of Thailand. And the aim of the program was to empower young Thai students who were disadvantaged to be able to realize the importance of English. So in the Northeast, not many young travelers pass through, and the Thais, they have a very limited view of the world. They don't know what actually is out there, and they're very limited to the Thai perspective. So my mother is from the northeastern part of Thailand, so I thought that it would be a great way for me to give back, but also I very much love promoting and sharing my understanding and awareness of Thai culture. So I wanted to share this with my fellow Australians, and a lot of Australians, they like going to the usual, full moon party, love going to Bangkok, they go down to the beaches, and I was like, no, Thailand is much more than that. We're beautiful, Thai culture is beautiful, it's so intricate, the people have amazing hospitality. If you heard Ari speaking in the last session, she talks about the hospitable amazingness of the people. But then each region of Thailand is also slightly different, so I wanted to showcase this by taking Australians to the northeastern part, which is very much off the track. It also enables Australians to learn about their fellow ASEAN neighbour, and I think that is very important as the government is moving closer to working with the ASEAN region. And also because we are a multicultural society, so it's very important to learn about our fellow cultural, all of our ties, and also ASEAN. Sorry, losing track, focus. I'm very excited and very thrilled to be here to talk about ADYAP. Okay, so the first thing I want to jump into is developing your story. So once you have an idea and you want to do something about it, I think it's very important that you know what you're trying to convey to people, and you need to develop your story, and that very much comes down to your why. Why do you want to do this? Why do you get up every morning to do this and make a change in the world? What does it mean to you, and how are you changing the world? So, here's my story. So, ADYAP all began with 1 baht. I'm not sure if any of you will believe that, but 1 baht is equivalent of less than 5 cents. So in 2011, I attended the University Scholars Leadership Symposium. Has anyone heard or attended that in the crowd? Oh, we have a few, yay! So that is where my journey began. There are plenary sessions as part of the conference, but there's also a field day. So my team was sent to the local orphanage in Pattaya province in Thailand. And so we were assigned to teaching English in the morning. We then cooked some food for the children, and then in the afternoon we were playing games. And as a Thai speaker, I was facilitating the game session. So at that point in time, I remember vividly I was playing What's the Time, Mr. Wolf? And at that point, I was the wolf. So I was running around with the children, running, chasing them around. And a child came up to me, and she put 1 baht in my hand. And I was perplexed. I was like, a child has given me money. This is not good. And so I was like, oh no, but then I didn't want to ask, because then if other children didn't have any money or they didn't have anything to give me, I didn't want them to feel bad. So I was like, I'll put this in my pocket, I'll deal with this later. So then we continue playing games for a couple of hours, and then we go back to the hotel, and I pulled out the 1 baht, and I was like, oh no, I have the 1 baht. And then we had a reflection period, and so I was thinking, why? Why did this child give me 1 baht? What is the significance of this 1 baht to the child? I thought that, she was living in an orphanage. She might not have anything. This might be her only 1 baht that she had. She might have 10. She might have 2. I was thinking the why. And so I thought, wow, in that very short amount of time, I was able to make someone feel happy. I equated that 1 baht to her happiness. The moment that she felt loved for a second, or valued, or recognized, or known. And I thought, wow, if I did that in the span of 2 hours, what if I could bring more people and spend more time at the schools and make an even more bigger impact? How much more could I impact the lives of others? So that is how ADYAP came about. So when it comes to developing your story, the first thing you need to know is your purpose. So I think you've seen this in different form as a Venn diagram. I kept it simple. So you got to find out what you love, what you're good at, and what the world needs. So for me, I love promoting Thai culture. I love teaching English. I love meeting people and leading through example, and I love traveling the world. So I conveyed what those values and what my purpose was into ADYAP. So you can see here, Our at-yappers are learning how to offer food to the monks in the correct manner. We have Darren, one of our at-yappers, teaching English. We have a bonding session in Ubon Ratchathani, and then we travelled across many sites through Bangkok and Ayutthaya. This one was in 2017 when we went to visit the ancient kingdom of Thailand. So by aligning your values with your organisation, I think it keeps your story very much on track and concise. So whenever you're telling your story, it's consistent, and you have a very clear message of what your purpose is, both for yourself and for your organisation. So the power of storytelling. I'm not sure if my story was very powerful after all, after telling you, but what my message is that you've got to just find your pivotal moment. For me, it was the one baht that kick-started the story that I wanted to tell. So that was my why. Every time I felt challenged with at-yap through my journey, I reflected back. So what is my why? I remember that exact moment in which that child gave me that one baht that has fueled my passion through all the hardships and difficulties. So you need to know what is your why. Remember your pivotal moment. What is the message you're trying to convey? So for me, at least today, I want you to find what your why is. What can you do that's good in the world? It can be something really small. I already talked about it doesn't have to be big. We're fortunate enough to be able to have the opportunity to share what we love with others, but it always starts with you and doing something small. But what is the message you're trying to convey? For me, it was to try and get at-yappers, to find the right at-yappers that I wanted to come on the program. People that fit within my values, people that were able to drive the at-yap dream and objectives and what our goals were. So for me, it was finding my right people and finding the right partners and sponsors. So I was very fortunate to be funded by DFAT, the Australian ASEAN Council, and also the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Thailand. So when you have your story, you're able to convey your message and can grab people on board. And you're going to need this. Especially when you're doing good, you're going to need funding of some kind. It's inevitable. I mean, I tried my best to do things as free as possible, but there's always a cost to everything. So you need to know your story so you can convey and convince others to join you on your journey. And the delivery, that depends on whatever mechanism you need to use to be able to deliver that effectively, whether it's through video, whether it's, talking to people, whether it's at a formal presentation. You've got to be able to match the requirements of the listeners as well. Not sure if I'm doing that. Hopefully, I'm sorry, I'm going at speed. There's a lot of information I'd like to tell. So very much to summarize in terms of your story, so you've got to find that pivotal moment. Whatever gets that light bulb going, whatever fuels you to get up every morning when you're working on your project, align it with your purpose. As I said, consistency is the key. If you know what you're doing and why you're doing it, your story will always be the right story when you deliver it. So that is my story. We ended up taking over 150 Australian university students. Over 5 years, we taught over 5,000 students. We built strong bonds between, I forgot to tell you, I don't know if you know, but Thomas and Anastasia went on at YAP. Thomas went almost 3 times, which confirms how awesome at YAP can be. And Anastasia was an at YAPper in 2017. And so for me, I think another objective of at-yap was to show if I can do this. I was lucky enough to find my moment, and you just have to be ready for it. You've got to keep your eye open, be appreciative of the opportunities that you have, and find that key moment or that driver that will always help you to continue your work. So yes, I want you to think about what your pivotal moment is and what your purpose is in the world. If you still haven't got there or you've got an idea, just keep working on it. Keep refining your story until, and the most important thing is to be authentic and be yourself. That is the most important thing when you're telling your story. Okay, next. So key lesson, when you're going from ideas to taking action, I think this is such an important lesson that I learned. And if I ever had doubts or I wasn't sure about what I was doing, I would either talk to someone or I would trial it. So at YAP began as a 2-week pilot project, and I took half of the people on the first round were my friends. But I was like, let's give it a go. Let's see how it goes. And so I teed up with the Royal Thai Consul General, and really, at YAP began by having lunch with the Consul General's wife. And I was like, hey, I like this. I have this idea, And she loved volunteering. And from that moment, she was like, let's do it. I get a phone call from the Consul General. He's like, let's do it. And I was like, oh, okay. And it really just began from taking action. Get the message out there. Talk to someone, whether it's your friends or a mentor or someone. You've got to start doing it. Just don't keep it in your brain. So you have to believe in what you're doing. Know your why. I keep drumming on about your why because you need to know why you're doing what you're doing. People need to believe you, and you need to be able to convey what you're trying to do, and it needs to ooze out of your pores. Like your mission, people need to smell it off you. Like they need to know that you love what you're doing and you are a full believer in what you're doing. Ideas. Make sure that you throw as many ideas as you can without thinking about resources. We as humans, I think it's good, there's nothing wrong with that, but I think that when you're in the initial phase of creating or developing a program, make sure that you just splat all the ideas that you have, no matter how grand they are or how outrageous they are. Just get those ideas pumping. Get them out and then filter them as you go. Because as you start to face other issues, whether it's funding, sponsorship, there will be other narrowing factors that will limit your ideas, and you'll start to be able to action what you need. As I said, take action no matter how small. Just talk to someone, get your ideas out there, get feedback. Would you do this? Would you attend? Do you think this is a great idea? Who are my beneficiaries? Identify what their needs are. It's very important. And I'm going to leave you all with my message is to never stop evolving, both yourself and the organization. Like constantly keep growing. It's critical that you just don't stay stagnant, because then what's exciting for you? You've lost momentum. So make sure that no matter where you start, just always know that if you improve one little bit each time, then your program or your organization is going to keep morphing into something bigger and better each time. And by switching up and improving your program, it shows that you are invested in your cause as well. So never stop learning, never stop investing in what you're doing, and yeah, make your dreams come true. If I can do it, all of you can do it. And we're going to hear from two amazing ex-at-yappers, and they are incredible in their own right. And so I hope that you enjoy their story as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Jelly. Oh. Is this on? It is. No, I definitely, your story has been something Thomas shared with me since the very beginning, and how passionate he was about volunteering. And you took that a step further by allowing him to make change outside of Australia, the country that he spent, I don't know, a good 20-something years living in. And of course, I come from a communications background, storytelling. People like to say, let's not put budgeting into communications, because where does the benefit in that? And they don't realize storytelling is how we capture humans. A good narrative is what keeps people passionate and what keeps us going. And we want to invest in a good story, even large corporations with CSR programs, or just a simple story of why we are the way we are. Hi, Thomas. Would you like to speak to us? Thank you.
Thank you, Ari and Jelly, for really reiterating the importance of storytelling. It really resonated, as Jelly shared, with my own story, and I do remain deeply appreciative to you and @Yap for sparking my own journey, which I will share. So for those who don't know, I am one of the co-founders and currently the managing director of Masy Consultants. It is a self-started social enterprise registered in both Australia and the Philippines with a multidisciplinary team. It was created in 2017 after the completion of my NCP program. However, the idea had been brewing much longer and had been incubating throughout my study and internship experiences. Growing up, and this really stemmed up to my why, is that my parents emphasized the importance of paying it forward, or in Tagalog, the bayanihan spirit. And what better way than to use my Australian education to really help empower vulnerable communities with safe and accessible water, sanitation, and hygiene education and services. And we do this by providing consulting and project management services, delivering projects on the ground with the communities themselves, partnering meaningful and impactful relationships with government, intergovernment agencies, NGOs, and businesses. In fact, this included a recent award from the ASEAN Foundation and Maybank Foundation, and the first in Australia for that program, with substantial funding to execute some of these programs at the face of COVID-19. Thank you so much. You got me blushing. Sorry. Oh no, what did I do? Okay. So why do we do what we do? And this is important because it will relate to the challenge that I will share. So in the past 10 years, an average of 14 Filipinos die every day from waterborne diseases. As of 2019, less than a quarter of the total divisions nationwide have achieved zero open defecation. This means that the rest of the country is considered at risk, especially youth, because of the lack of water and sanitation infrastructure in their local school settings. And we know that this is exacerbated by natural disasters, COVID-19, and we know that this disproportionately affects poorer communities because of their predisposed vulnerabilities. Together, this accounts for a significant number of deaths and illnesses in the Philippines. So it's with this personal connection I have, especially to my familiar roots to the Philippines and taking my Australian education, to really build the why in why my team and I are committed to shaping a world where everyone has access to water, sanitation, hygiene, so they can live with health, dignity, and prosperity wherever they are. And with that said, Masy has undergone transformational changes. So this is going to relate to the story and where everything does eventually crumble down. So we began with humble beginnings. It started as a passion project with a small team of friends and colleagues, some who I met during my NCP program, like Josh Dos Santos over here, with a genuine desire to empower vulnerable communities in rural provinces. This meant undertaking field investigations, organizing community workshops, and sharing these findings and insights with local leaders, and LGUs and NGOs, so that they could improve the design of their initiatives. And over time, we got better. Our team grew, we refined our community engagement strategy, our systems, and honed in on a specialization in water, sanitation, hygiene services, and education. We organized wash workshops. We facilitated the local construction of communal toilets and hand washing stations and upskilled local labor so that they can do it when we departed from that community to hopefully promote self-sufficiency. We became a trusted go-to partner for large organizations such as Engineers Without Borders Australia and the ASEAN Foundation. And this is especially reflected in our leadership in establishing and managing the Portfolio Delivery Services Partner, an innovative consortium in collaboration with the Australian Water Association and water.org. So for those who know, in the water and international development sectors, these are apex organizations. So reflecting back, this was a huge achievement for a small emerging social enterprise such as Masy. The consortium did allow us to expand our reach, and with our combined services to capacitate water service providers, so the equivalent of Sydney Water, Sec Water, but more smaller in the way that's organized in the Philippines, to expand our reach and help them deliver their services to all households the best way we can. It was really an exciting phase, and we won modest grants, we delivered projects, and at the time, we believed that this would lay the roadmap for Masy over the next several years. However, spoiler alert, it did not. Things gradually broke down. The leadership of AWA and water.org changed, and as a result, so did their priorities. And this affected their partnership arrangements with us. Of course, the impacts of COVID-19 cannot be understated. It led to project cancellations, reduced funding channels, and directly impacted the health of my team members and their families. And this had cascading impacts on our strategy, our communities, and the team. And one of the biggest challenges was that the team was feeling burnt out, particularly because we remained a trusted focal point in supporting community recovery efforts at the face of pandemic. But as Anjali alluded to, sustainability and maintaining the health and well-being of the team is also a priority. Unfortunately, I could not physically be there to support them due to travel restrictions. And although I did all-nighters and deployed mitigation strategies with the team here based in Australia, this was only a temporary fix. I was burning the candle from both ends, and essentially it was like slapping a Band-Aid even though I was losing liters of blood. And understandably, some team members did leave. This highlighted a fundamental business model issue that needed to be addressed. Although projects were a success in terms of tangible impact and fulfilling our contractual obligations with different sponsors, Masy needed to evolve to ensure that we can sustainably continue to deliver our work while still maintaining that in-touch service that was the unique selling point we always provided, especially between Australian and Philippine relations. This meant I needed to take the courage to step away from all the months and all the years to really build up that PDSP model and to really pivot to a new direction. And that is part of the journey of any idea or an organization that you may self-start or will run in the future. As the leader, I am currently I led and I'm currently leading the team on this transformational journey, and the outcomes speak for themselves. We reshaped our organizational structure and consolidated our services under the WASH education, or WASH Ed, as you can see, not share, my bad, umbrella. This involved developing a learning curriculum, taking everything that we've learned, in partnership with the Philippine Society of Sanitary Engineers, having that curriculum endorsed by the Department of Education in the Philippines so that teachers in the Philippine education system can reliably use it as part of their WASH in Schools program. We actually completed a successful pilot in Cebu province and are now in the process of developing a digital portal for the curriculum. So I guess this is very different to our face-to-face service that we always had delivered. It is something different and new, but we believe that this will allow us to increase our reach, our flexibility, reduce labor, and provide greater administrative efficiency. And most importantly for me, more important than the positive reception that we received from schools, our partners, that we are on a promising trajectory, is that my team members are much happier with the changes. And this was not a staged photo, by the way. This was candid. So a key lesson I want to share with all of you, whether it be an initiative or an organization or an idea that's brooded, is to learn that it's okay if things fall apart. Be comfortable with evolving your organization throughout the journey. And what does that look like? And hopefully some practical tips that you can take away from Masy's story, my story, is that always take with you the principles of empathy. This will keep you in touch with your purpose, keep you in touch with your team, and the communities you work with in guiding every decision you make. This means to be curious. Ask, what can I do? Be optimistic. When things have become difficult, ask what I can do differently or better. And understand, because the problems we solve is not often our own. So you have to practice and learn to practice a high degree of empathy. The second is, as shown, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with the 5 stages of grief. So as a leader, I was disappointed and frustrated and often wondered what I could have done better to make sure that team members did stay. But in the end, it's coming to terms with change. Team members will leave for different reasons as ourselves grow in our careers to make career decisions. What is important is to build up a team that aligns with the vision, you involve them in key decisions, and that you accept that people will still leave, as that is part of the life cycle of any organization or initiative. That being said, I remain grateful for the good relationships I've maintained with my former Masy team members who continue to cheer us from the sidelines. And the third, and I'm not going to delve into it because Jelly has done an absolute job, is to build clarity around your purpose and roadmap. So, as she shared, if you clarify your purpose, you can communicate it, and you can really believe in it, and you will find the people, the team members who will support your vision and join you. And once you have a roadmap, so an idea of how you're going to implement it, that you can communicate, you will find partnering organizations, funders, and communities that will join the party. So do not discount the importance of reflecting and understanding your purpose and your roadmap. You owe it to yourself to clarify your why. And in doing so, you can convince others why it is important. So a word of advice, as the key lesson shared, is that it's perfectly okay if the roadmap evolves over time, and it's perfectly okay if things fall apart. That is part of the journey.
Thank you, Thomas. And I just want to really reiterate this because many of you here are so young, it boggles the mind. But please put a key importance on not only taking care of others, but taking care of yourself. Many of us have experienced burnout, I'm sure, especially in the past 2 years. A lot of changes, a lot of things to be afraid of, and that's okay. Fear is a natural process. It's a natural emotion to have. But make sure that before all else, take care of yourself. Don't burn out from everything you're doing, even despite how strong your passions are. Speaking of strong passions, hi. Could you please impart some wisdom? Thank you.
Oh, no. Okay, there we go. Okay, cool. Hello, everyone. Thank you. Okay, I'll keep going. Thank you, Jelly and Thomas, for sharing great wisdom today. They have both been my role models, and I've known them for a while, so happy to share the stage with you. Also, Ari, thank you for creating really nice, safe space for us to share. Cool. Well, I'm here today to be sharing with you a little bit more about Makar Collective. So what actually is Makar Collective? That's okay. It's really fun. What actually is Makar Collective? So it is an upcoming fashion social enterprise. What we do is we aim to have a minimal impact on the earth by using offcuts, batik offcuts, fabric offcuts, and as well as used clothing to create them into beautiful garments. I'll show you one of our samples. So our first collection is actually going to be bucket hats. So if you, is there any Indonesian NCP scholars in the house? Yay, cool. Selamat datang. We are still in the first phase of creating it, and the manufacturing is going to be completed in about 2 months' time. So it's really an upcoming social enterprise. I really believe that good business, when at the core, the purpose of that business really has positive impact for the world, can create that positive impact for the world. So with Makar Collective, what we do is we use the profits to actually fund scholarships for young girls living in rural parts of Indonesia, specifically in high school. So one of the challenges for a lot of young girls is that they don't have the funds or the access to opportunities. So whether that be through like resources, textbooks, uniforms, and they're unable to afford it. So right now we're partnering with different NGOs there to actually make this a reality and create workshops to allow this to happen. So, I mean, you can't see it, but I actually only found this in 2022, this year. And what that means is actually it's still... Guys, okay, so actually, yay, thank you everyone. So actually it means that it's still in the startup phase right now, right? But actually though, I've been thinking about this for a long time. So growing up, I grew up in a single parent household. My mum, at times we were living close to the poverty line, even housing commission. It was really hard growing up. But even in those times where we didn't even have much, she still emphasised the importance of giving back. And when we did have the chance to be able to go to Indonesia for a holiday, you know, I then realised like the privilege that I had, and many of us in this room growing up in Australia, the access to things like NCP, like grants, we get access to that, but unfortunately others don't. So how can we be able to make this a reality? The word Makar in Indonesian actually means bloom. So how can we be able to provide the opportunity for young girls living there to bloom and achieve their full potential? With all this, I think the purpose of why I'm here today in, you know, still starting up this opportunity and this journey is because we have like a couple of different social enterprises. So Jelly having like a mature social enterprise, you know, Thomas starting in 2017 and going through different transformational change. I think something that I find whenever I hear people sharing stories is like, what about if I want to start right now and I don't know where to go and I don't know where to start? So how do I even begin? And what does that journey actually look like? So I know for me, when I was going through beginning all of this, I would love to hear it. So I hope me sharing my story today can help. And that key challenge of not being able to know how to start. So this is me back in 2016, funded by NCP to go to Indonesia. And one of the things that I absolutely loved about Indonesia was batik. So here's a photo of me actually like making the batik itself, making the wax. And it was something that I found a lot of passion in. I also was doing a lot of volunteering, so getting involved in the Australia-Indonesian Youth Association, as well as interning at the local government. So I was living in Yogyakarta at the time. It really planted this seed in my heart, like, I really want to give back in some way, and this is something that I really love and enjoy. Then I graduated. This is me in 2017, graduating with a Bachelor of Arts. I then got a job, and literally within 2 weeks of taking that photo, I moved to Singapore. So it was a big change. I was 20 at the time, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? I started my job at Facebook with Thomas. This is my first visitor at Facebook, which was great. By the way, the friends that you make in NCP, I'm sure the alumni can agree with me, like, they're friends for life, and I really, really love the friendship that I made with Thomas. So in my role actually at Facebook, it was more of a focus on how do I provide businesses with a strategy and insight on how they can be able to grow their business through social media. So it was mainly focused on like providing e-commerce businesses with that strategy and advice. I worked with like RM Williams, I worked with Sports Girl, worked with a whole bunch of businesses. in Singapore, so I had to come back to Australia every 3 months. And it was great. Like, I really, really enjoyed that role. But the thing was, I always had like a part of me that really wanted to give back in some way. So I actually was doing a Bachelor of Social Work, and I ended up dropping that so that I could take on this role with Facebook. So I was like, okay, I need this fuel. What can be able to energise me? And I thought, okay, like what I really loved when I was in Indonesia was that volunteering part. So I then tried to find an NGO in Singapore that I could be part of. So I've started volunteering for something called the Cadet Project. The Cadet Project is an NGO that is focused on providing minority Muslim women with basically tech workshops on how they can be able to really find opportunities within the space. As a Muslim woman myself, I felt excluded from that narrative within Facebook, and I was like, how can I be able to feel comfortable? And this community really helped me. So that gave me my energy to keep going in my role at Facebook. I then also loved sewing. If you have me on Instagram, I would post, I think like once a month or something, I would post all of my sewing escapades, and I did like woodwork, a whole bunch of stuff. That also kept me energized as well. So that was the stuff that really fueled me, and I loved changing like clothes that I used to own and making them something new, whether it be in a tote bag or a hat, that kind of thing. So that's me making a skirt. So I was in Singapore for about 5 years. With COVID and everything, I felt like, you know what, time to come home. So I came back to Sydney in 2021, in November. But coming back to Australia, I felt like I needed to keep that connection with the ASEAN region. I love Singapore, and I love Indonesia. And so I felt like, okay, what do I do now? Like, I'm back here, right? And something I ended up doing in hotel quarantine. I've done it 3 times now. I'm an expert. I think when I did it, no joke, guys, it was the day before New South Wales stopped it. So I just happened to come in at just the right time, obviously. So I asked my mum, like, can you give me a sewing machine in the hotel room so I can sew? So I had like a whole bunch of stuff. This is actually one of the first samples, so I sewed this whilst I was in quarantine because I had all these like batik scraps that I didn't use. So I was like, okay, this is fun, I love it, this is good. Should I actually do something about this? Like, I've got these passions of sewing, giving back. I've got an expertise with providing businesses on how they can be able to grow. Could I actually do something with this? And it just so happened that the Australia ASEAN Emerging Leaders Program was opening up for applications. Funnily enough as well, we somehow all were involved in this as well. So this is a program that provides 5 Australians and 1 person per ASEAN country with the opportunity to go through a program, a 3-month program on how they can start up their social enterprise. So I'm actually doing it right now. The last class is in 2 weeks, and we have to do a big pitch, which is going to be fun. So the applications for this just opened in, I think it was December, and I applied, and then I got it. So that actually was that seed that I had planted to really bring it here today. I think the whole reason why I just wanted to show you that story is like, what you're doing right now, maybe you've got that idea, doesn't necessarily need to actually execute that idea right now. Like, it could be something you begin in, 5, 10 years, maybe even 2 years' time. But just know, like, I know for me, when I look back in hindsight, like, every single point in this journey led me to here to start Makar. So the key lessons that I'd like to share with you today. Assess who you are. I think everyone said that today, but really dig deep on what motivates you, what drives you. Imposter syndrome is very real. You can feel maybe phased out by like all the people and their stories and their journeys. And it's like, but if you know who you are and what you stand for, then that keeps you going in those tough times when you're like, oh my God, is this even, like, am I even real? It's just, so that kind of thing. For the scholars, use the time in the NCP to really plant the seeds for your future. Seek the mentors, the advice from all the right people. I think, I still very much remember that time, and it definitely, the people who I've spoken to basically consult on Makar Collective has really been able to help with making it a reality. And then the last one, if you do end up starting a social enterprise, what problem are you actually trying to solve, and are you the right person to do this? So with Makar Collective, we're actually partnering with NGOs to provide the scholarships because they're the ones actually in Indonesia, they're the ones who are actually going to be on the ground and being able to help all the right people. So that is my story. I hope that you enjoyed. I'll pass it to Ari to wrap it up.
Hello again. Oh, we don't need this, do we? So, before we get on to the next part, can we get one more round of applause? Because seriously, how? Sometimes I ask myself, how old am I and what have I done to show for it? And these young people Angelica, could you remind me, how young were you when you started at YAP?
So I was in third year university, so I was 20 when I kick-started at YAP.
And Thomas, how old were you when Masy happened?
When I graduated, I don't know how old I was in 2017. Oh, much older. I think 26.
Whoever is good at math, please.
26.
We have so many STEM people here.
24. I don't know.
I'm like, wait, how old is Thomas? No, I'm 25 now. I was 26 as of last week.
Oh, yay. Happy birthday.
Thank you, guys.
So that's the thing. You start at different stages, and then you get to where you need to be. So never feel disheartened oh, no, I'm going to be 30. What am I doing with my life? It's you get to the right place at the right time, don't you? And they are living, breathing examples of how that all works. So before we get into the Q&A, actually, excuse me, let me check the time really quickly just to be safe. Okay, so far so good. There will be no Q&A, I apologize. So what did we learn from this? Oh my goodness, excuse me. So what did we learn from all of this? Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, technology. It's the machine and here. It's not working today. The key lessons that we learned today, just to reiterate, just in case you fell asleep at one point or another, I've been there. First off, you need to take a concept and put it into action. You cannot have one without the other. Otherwise, you'd just be standing still now, wouldn't you? Secondly, it's so important to be comfortable with change. Change is a good thing. If any of you are familiar with, Buddhist teachings, the only constant in life is that there is inconsistency, and you go with the flow. Sometimes you might want to fight it, and that's okay, but in the end, you come to terms with where you're going. Last and not least, discover your niche. Discover what makes you happy. And I live by this, I can assure you. Once you find what makes you happy, everything else really falls into place. And yes, you take that and you turn it into a viable solution. You turn it into a sustainable business. And you go from doing good and wanting to be better, and you become your best self. My name is Ariel Struhl. I'm part of Masy Consultants. You can contact our very amazing speakers through their channels, add them on LinkedIn, stalk them, do whatever. And thank you all for being here today.
Thank you, everyone. 24. I was thinking that was okay.
I believe, my understanding is the session ends at 12:10. Next is lunch, is that correct?
I believe so. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? There's one more session. I'm sorry, no lunch. I didn't mean to disappoint you.
But again, thank you everyone for coming. We'll be hanging around during the day, and especially tonight.